Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. And this is my sort of annual Thanksgiving traditional thank you video. First, thanking you all for being viewers today, and every day that you show up for me and comment and share are great days that I am so grateful for you. I do love this community. I love talking about books, and I love learning more about all of you and what you're reading. So thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to those of you who do celebrate Thanksgiving at this time of year in the United States. But even if you do not, just expressing gratitude to you because I adore doing this with you. A couple other things I'm grateful for. I recently got new lenses in my glasses, both these and my sunglasses. So I'm happy about that. My prescription actually improved a little. I'm grateful for still being able to read, despite the fact that I have a cataract on each eye, one worse than the other. I'm grateful that I can still drive. And I'm just super, super grateful for the fact that I have healthcare and eye care insurance, so I can really get the things that I need to be able to enhance my reading life. So that's another thing I'm grateful for this Thanksgiving season. So next, I thought I would talk about the books that I'm most grateful that I've gotten the chance to read and experience this year so far. And there are a couple of them. So let's get started on that. One of the first ones I read in January was The Dutch House by Ann Patchett. Love it. 5-star read for me. So happy with this character-driven study of this family that moves into this home and their relationships with each other and the twists and turns in their lives, and just adored it. So I'm really super grateful for this one. And I read it in January, as I think I said before. I'm going to put these behind me. I have a lot of books to put away. Another book I'm really grateful I got to read this year is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I love Blake Crouch. And while I read a couple more by him this year, I read 4 books by Blake Crouch altogether in 2020. I don't think I'll be reading any more before the end of the year, but I did really enjoy Dark Matter, and I gave it 5 stars. I gave some other books 5 stars too, but these are the ones that really stand out to me. So there's, a kind of a method to my madness here. Another one that really touched me is The Last Train to London by Meg Wade Clayton, historical fiction about the kinder transport from Austria to other safe spaces, predominantly London at that time, or England at that time, but rescuing Jewish children who were separated in many cases from their families, or whose families surrendered them to the kinder transport to help them survive. And it was so well done, and I really enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars. And I hear she has a new book coming out next year, I think, and I can't wait to hear more about that and to learn more about it when it arrives. But definitely a 5-star read for me. I also loved The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. Had that on audio. I've always enjoyed her books, and this one was particularly beautiful to me and lyrical. And she also can weave a story about people and relationships and tell this epic story about these characters and develop them in a way that they intertwine or don't intertwine. And I really am grateful that she wrote The Glass Hotel and that it came out this year. Defending Jacob by William Landay was a surprise to me. It was one that a couple people were reading, and my daughters in particular were reading and or watching the series on Apple TV, which I have yet to do. And I thought, well, let me give it a try. And I literally devoured it. This great suspense thriller story about a murder in this small town, and the aftermath of this murder, and the boy Jacob who's accused, his father's relationship to the district attorney's office, the the nuance through the entire thing about, did he do it? Did he not do it? This deep, deep and rich procedural kind of story, not only about the crime, but about the parents and Jacob and the other people in this town. And I enjoyed it. I don't know why I haven't watched the series yet, but that's something I may consider doing on when I have a couple days off during the holiday season. Another one I really enjoyed was Fierce Kingdom by Jen Phillips. And I have not yet rated that because I don't know why I didn't rate it when I finished it, but it had an ending that surprised me, and I'm still like, I still talk about this with my daughter, and really want to talk about it with some other people too, because it was just really wow. So this one takes place in a small period of time where a mom and her son are at the zoo, and the zoo is closing, and they are starting to leave and exit the zoo, and something happens and they have to then hide in the zoo. And well worth the read if you love a thriller, and a new author to me, and really very well written. The writing was not the issue. I was just struck by the ending, so much so that I think I was gobsmacked for a bit, and I wasn't sure how to rate this properly. 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. I'm really grateful that I read this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love a mystery about mysteries. And so that was absolutely what this was. Magpie Murders was kind of the same experience for me. This was a great mystery novel, well written. I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars, but it stayed with me. And one of the reasons was just because of the way that it was crafted, not only sort of an homage and an honoring of lots of great murder mysteries that really hit the list of these 8 perfect murders. And this murder that's occurring is mimicking the murders in each of those plots, and you don't know who's doing it, obviously, but just also because it honors this genre that I love so much. So that one I'm truly grateful that I took a look at and decided to consume. And while I don't own it, I may end up getting it one day, because I feel like there's a reread at least once in my future of this one. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I do still own this. I lent it to Megan to read. Oh my goodness, this was a beautiful, beautiful piece of literature that I adored, about a family, about a woman in particular who is poor and uneducated and trying to get by in the world, and it's her story, and it's the story of the people that she meets and engages in relationship with, and where she ends up. And I cried, I laughed sometimes. I was so struck by it. It's a classic work. It was written in the late 30s, I think. It's been out forever. Zora Neale Hurston, great writer, and Ruby Dee reads this on audio, which is also just a great experience if you want to listen to that. Ruby Dee's voice and her ability to breathe life into this in the audio form is super well done. This was a surprise to me as well. The Life We Bury by Alan Eskin, so much so that I just got the other one not long ago. I don't know if I've talked about that yet. I don't remember when I hauled that, but holy cow. This one surprised me too. This was recommended by Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library. She said it was one of the most powerful books. It stayed with her. I agree. It stayed with me too. It's a story of Joe, who's doing a project for school, and his assignment is to interview a stranger, and he goes to a retirement home or a assisted living home, and he meets Carl Iverson, and he begins to learn about Carl's life as he fulfills this assignment. Meanwhile, he has an autistic brother and a challenging home life, and just there's some other stuff that happens with Joe. So, so well done. Such a surprise. And I listened to this and then later found a copy of it in my little free library, which delighted me. Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. One of the best books I read this year. Recently read it. It's a story about a virus, so take good care if that's not something you're feeling good about doing these days, reading about these days. But it's not like a coronavirus virus, but it is a rapidly spreading, deadly virus. And it's the story of these two women, essentially, and all of the other things that are happening around them and how they navigate and stay well. And just loved it. I devoured this one too. And there are a couple of books that really have stayed with me this year, and this is one of them for sure. So that is my list of the books that I am most grateful for that I've read in 2020. Of course, I have a little bit of time left, but this Thanksgiving holiday season, it just seemed fitting for me to revisit some of the things that I read this year that made a deep and lasting impression on me. And so I hope that you have found also some of these books that you've read that have made a long lasting impression on you this year, and that you'll share those with me in the comments. I recognize that this is a challenging year in so many ways, but especially during the holiday season when we are used to gathering together and we're being told that that isn't always the best decision for us regarding this pandemic. And while I sincerely hope that next Thanksgiving season, we aren't even speaking about this anymore because it is no longer an issue, I recognize that some of you may not be able to celebrate this holiday season in a way that brings you the same level of connection to your family and commitment to that celebration as you've had in the past. So just know that I'm thinking of you. I wish you well. I have no judgment about how you choose to spend your holiday season time. I think it is a personal decision for everyone. And I think there are also ways in which we can be extremely careful and cautious and take care of ourselves and each other in some of the choices that we make at this time. So I wish you all of the best that you can create. And I know that a lot of people are creating very unique ways of gathering together for the holiday season on Zoom and in other different ways. And I think that's fantastic. And so, there's a lot of ways for us to look at this. In the end, this is one season in a lifetime. So let's not forget that. And let's be with it in the spirit of gratefulness and thanksgiving and optimism and connection to what really matters most to each of us individually and as families. So I wish you well. I wish you good eating. And as always, happy reading. Bye.